Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Talk Business with Audrey. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney, and today I got a really good guest. But before we get to that guest today, I want to just give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Wizard Web Hosting. Buy web hosting online. And to do that, you can go to www.wizardwebhosting.com. So, hey, we got a great guest. Stay tuned.
Finances are killing me. So before you record, and we're live right now, I named in climates. We just had Dealmakers Weekend in Vegas. So it's
where are you located?
I'm back in Tennessee now.
Okay, you're in Tennessee, so you're right next door to me. Okay.
Yeah.
You had to come over here.
Where are you located?
I'm in Georgia. I'm in Metro Atlanta. Metro Atlanta. It's funny. We keep you live, so you kind of move around.
All right, now I'm good to go.
Okay. So, Mr. Champman, my guest today is welcome to Talk Business with Audrey. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney, and today my guest is Mr. Ace Champman, and he's going to be talking to us about a great topic, flipping websites. And he has a great story. And so, when I think about flipping websites, I think about flipping houses. You know, back in the early 2000s, everybody was flipping houses. I was trying to flip some houses myself. So I'm really interested in finding out about this whole concept of really buying and selling websites. I kind of think of it as flipping them. So you can kind of, it's different. But tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started buying and selling websites, digital real estate, really.
Yeah. So my very first website I bought when I was 19. I was in school up in New York at a school called Colgate. Mm-hmm. And I was a user. I'd always been fascinated by the stock market and just how it worked. And, just always loved business in general. And I came across this stock market simulator. I basically was just a user. And the really interesting thing for me was it was, all this new technology, because it's like 98, 99. It was just like fascinating in general. Mm-hmm. So I ended up kind of using it, saw that the people running it were kind of terrible. The site was always crashing. The support was just terrible. Mm-hmm. So as I came to the end of my sophomore year, I realized that maybe they want an intern because they obviously needed some help. And I reached out to them to intern with them. And they basically, instead of hiring me as an intern, wrote back and said, we actually just want to sell this business. Would you want to buy it?
Wow.
And that was my very first deal. I just kind of lucked into it. And they turned out not to be so much motivated sellers or as much as just like sellers that weren't tied to the business. They had moved on to something else. So the business was making $60,000 a year. They only wanted $70,000, which basically meant that, if I could just maintain it, I would get all my money back in a year. Mm-hmm. And even not knowing anything about this space, I was like, man, if I could make $60,000, that would be my goal. Once I got out of school and college would be to, I probably wouldn't have been making 60. So ended up putting that first deal together. We, I went back to them, asked them to finance half of it. I got a buddy of mine to put in $15,000, mm-hmm. and then without my parents knowing, because they would have absolutely killed me, mm-hmm. I got some credit cards because all I had was $3,000 that I had saved up working in the summers before. So I was able to get that $70,000 deal with only $3,000 up front.
Wow! Now, I was going to ask you, like being a sophomore in college, because I've been in college. And I know that you're eating oodles and noodles and eggs. So I'm like, okay, where did he get $70,000 from to purchase an internet business? So you were able to bring on an investor, really, and then get them to finance the other half. Now, when you structured that deal, did you have to pay them back? How was it structured for you to pay them back? Was it every month? Was it at the end of after you sold it? How was that deal structured?
Yeah, so on a monthly basis, we would take some of the earnings from the business. And so they got payment out of the earnings. Basically, I would give them about half the earnings until I paid them off. So that's something unique that a lot of people aren't aware of. That does happen a lot more with internet deals than offline deals, where instead of saying, here's a set loan or payment, which we do that as well, but you can say, okay, I'm going to give you a percentage of the earnings. That way, you're not stuck paying if the business doesn't earn money.
Now, did they keep any equity in the company, or did they turn the whole company over to you as a full sale?
Yeah, they weren't interested in equity. They were interested in kind of being out of it and moving on to putting all their focus in another business. And a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, there are folks that, when it comes, one of the more interesting questions to me is the people that are like, why would anybody sell a business that's making money? Or, especially and give a great deal. And the two things about that is, we have people that have great jobs and they decide to go to another job, sometimes making less money just because they don't want that job anymore. And then the other thing is you have this opportunity cost where if you're still in another deal and you have this big opportunity, sometimes it can be worth just moving on just because this thing is kind of a time suck. So when I've sold deals where I've literally given somebody a 100%, we just sold a business where we helped the guy buy the business from us at 100%, and that helped us to get a great price for the business.
I was going to tell you that. So now I know you have like this whole buyer readiness test that you have on your website. What does a buyer need to know if they're thinking about selling? Because I know, I'm going to tell you honestly, I'm building a business right now, and I know I'm building it to sell. And so if I'm a seller, what does the seller need to know? I mean, what does the seller need to know? Starting a business, know you're growing a business to sell, it's an internet business. What do you need to be preparing for right now? Because your interim goal is to sell that business.
So when you're selling a business, there are three crucial things. Number one is you want to have standard operating procedures. And when it comes to doing buying a business, it's a pain if you as the buyer have to come in and build everything from scratch. It can, if you're trying to run the business and you're trying to figure out how to run the business, that can be a nightmare. So for you as a seller, it can set you apart if you have your standard operating procedures in place. I remember we were buying a business one time that, really got me interested in buying existing franchises. So I bought the business. I was able to send my manager, who was working for me in another business, to the training, and she went to the training. I didn't go, and she came back. She knew everything about that business, so it was well worth paying that franchise fee. I think just to transfer it, because this was an existing business. So just to transfer the franchise, I think on that deal may have cost $20,000. So I had to pay the franchise a fee. But in return for that, obviously they have all the systems, they have all that stuff in place. So I sent my manager up, so when she came back, she could run this business, and it was already profitable. So it had the profitability that was there, but then it had the franchise backing us up. So when she came back, she knew everything about that business that it took to run it, which was a really big deal. So she got hired, she could handle the marketing, all that stuff. And I never knew how to run that business, which was great. Even when she left, she had somebody else that was trained. Or even if she quit on me, I could send one of the other employees to get trained, and they could come back and run it. The other thing to think about is the marketing. So when it comes to marketing, you are, you want to buy a business from the buyer's perspective from a seller that's figured out all of the marketing, and they've tested things, they've tried things, and it's working. It's not something where they're like, oh, well, last week we did this and we got a few customers, and this week we're doing that, and got a few customers with that, and next week we're planning on trying this. You want those consistent sources of leads. And today, most people are there's just so many different opportunities, and there's so many different amazing platforms. I mean, this is an awesome platform, and so people can go from platform to platform and strategy to strategy. And 1 minute they're getting good leads from Instagram, but then they hear that Periscope is the place to be, and so they go over to Periscope, and then they realize that really going back to Facebook and with the new lead form is the place to do it, and webinars and email lists, and it's just endless. And so that becomes a huge issue when you're trying to sell, when it's like, hey, we just do a bunch of stuff and we're making money, but it's we don't have that system in place. And then number 3 is not selling a job. If you're in the business and you're working every day, and even if you do have employees that may lift a lot of the weight, what we found is that the more turnkey something is, where they come in, they sign the papers, and they start making money, and then they can focus on working on the business, coming up with strategies to grow the business and take it to the next level. That is where you can sell that business at a premium.
Okay, that's some good information right there, because I am building, and people have shown some interest already, and I haven't even got it to the point where I think it should be, but people have shown interest, so it's pretty interesting to see.
So tell me what your business is.
Well, it's HerTube, and I get a lot of interest in HerTube. I get a lot of good feedback, and I've actually had some investors come in and say, hey, listen, we want to invest. So it's a little bit exciting right now, but I know, I got a bigger thing that I want to do. So I'm one of those people, it's probably going to be profitable and I'm going to sell it. And people say, why are you selling it? Because there's this other big thing that I really want to do, and it has to do a lot with entrepreneurship for children, for youth. And so that's something I wanted to do for a very long time. I want to build a school. I want to be able to teach technology and entrepreneurship and media to youth. So that's my end goal. But right now, I'm building out HerTube. So.
Excellent. But I'm curious about the vision for HerTube. I love what you're up to. So what's the monetization strategy and the long-term vision? Advertising
and sponsorships, because it's like a YouTube for women. So the whole network is pretty much all women videos from around the world, sharing stories that inspire. We got what we call the E6 principles: in expression, encouragement, enlightenment, empowerment, education, and entertainment. So our platform covers all those things as it pertains to women.
Excellent. Well, I've got some past clients who've done deals that we have to get on here.
Okay, then that sounds wonderful. So tell me about one of your best deals, and then tell me one of your horror stories.
So I'll tell you, actually, in one industry, best deal and horror story.
Okay.
So I was buying businesses. For a while I was doing offline deals, because after my first internet deal, I thought I was done. We had 7-figure offers to buy the business, but it was growing really fast. We had taken it from 10,000 users to 250,000 users, and it was just doing well. So we turned down a lot of those offers. And the thing for me was, when it came to doing the deals that were on the internet, I just had this apprehension after that. And so I decided to focus on the internet, on the offline deals. And my third offline deal was tanning salon. And I'd never walked into a tanning salon until I went to go look at this business. So I walk in, I know absolutely nothing about the world of tanning or anything like that.
Right.
And I start to, I'm just walking around. I'm in there for 20 minutes, and I start to ask her about her customer database. One of the things about that deal was that she was not she was very motivated. She was not trying to maximize the value of the business. She wasn't trying to figure out, okay, how do I get, as much money as possible. Her thing was all about time, and she wanted to sell as quickly as possible. And, I kind of knew that going in. So that made it a little bit easier because I knew that I was going to be able to get a good deal on it. But, like I said, I knew nothing about tanning. So I'm learning about the business and, trying to figure out if it's a good deal for me or not. And I end up kind of starting to figure out what was going on with their marketing. And it had been in business for 22 years. So another thing that makes a business easy to sell is when it's been around for just a really long time. So she starts to talk about their marketing. The numbers look great. And I'm asking her about her customer database. And we come to find out that she has not sent an email to her customer database ever.
Wow.
So, I'm like, okay, well, how many people are in it? And she says 14,000 people.
Wow.
And, I'm asking, okay, but how many of those people have actually spent money with you? Not just like, I'm figuring this is her whole database of customers. This isn't just, hey, let's go and get just the customer. So I was like, how many of those people have actually done business with you and spent some money? And she was like, all of them. We don't keep track. The only way we have of we're not getting just potential lead information. So they missed out on all, probably had a 30,000 person database with that. This just the fact that they had been in business for 22 years. They'd had 14,000 people come through there and actually spend money with them. Wow. And she never reached back out to any of them. So I stopped everything. I decided I can learn about the tanning business later. Let me buy this business right now.
Right.
So I ended up buying that business, and we grew it just with her customers, like the past customers. We ended up tripling the size of the business within about 6 months. Right. I got all my money back that I paid for that business in 4 months, and then sold the business after about 7 months to another guy, kept some equity, pretty much sold it at about double what I paid for it. And that was my very best deal. So after selling that, I became very interested in the tanning industry for obvious reasons, and had some equity in that first deal. So we went out and we started to do some roll-ups in that industry. So I ended up buying 4 other tanning salons, converting them to our brand, using the same strategies that we used to do that. And then we found a buyer for all of them. And in the reach out in our process of going out and talking to the sellers and our owners and all that, we obviously talked to a lot of people that didn't want to sell. And we basically had worked out where we had the deals that we wanted and we were good to go. But then we had another lead that reached out to us and was interested in selling. And, at the end of the day, we're like, well, we kind of got the whole deal put together, which, is one of those things where if somebody really wants to sell and they're motivated, then I'm going to try to make a deal happen. Right. But in this case, it's like, okay, it has to be a really amazing deal in order for me to get that deal done. So I meet with the guy. He's like, well, I want you, before you make your offer, come meet with me and my family. And that is, kind of the only way I want to negotiate. And so I go and I have dinner with them, me and my partner, and we're talking about the offer that we want to make at the end of dinner. And he's like, all right, so just tell me the number. So we tell him what we want to do. And he's sitting there and doesn't say anything, which is typical negotiation tactic. But then he starts turning red and he gets like, beet red, and I'm like, okay, this guy is about to bust a brain vessel. So he's like, you guys just need to get out of my house. Starts cursing us and all this stuff, and that's just outrageous. How could you give me such a low offer? Blah blah blah. And he's like, you come into my house and eat my dinner. And we're like, dude, you asked us to come here. I didn't want to come here.
Wow.
So we
That's crazy.
ended up, yeah. So we left, and my partner's like, yeah, well, that deal's out. We're definitely not gonna come back. It's like, oh, I've seen mad sellers before. They may come back. You never know. Sure enough, maybe 2 weeks later, his wife calls because he couldn't stand to face us. And she's like, all right, we want to take the offer. You know, we talked about it. I apologize for my husband, blah, blah, blah. We're ready to do the deal. At this point, I'm even further with my original folks. I'm like, hey, I can't do that deal anymore. It's got to be even lower.
Wow.
So I'm sure he was even more furious then, but they took the offer. And but it was very, very low offer. And we get to the end and we close that deal. We're trying to close the other deal. I'm not really paying attention to a lot of what's going on there because it was a small amount. But I go into the office and into that salon, and they're like, hey, we've been meaning to talk to you. And I'm like, about what? And they're like, an email that the previous owner sent. And I'm like, really? Like, what about it? Like, who cares? And she was like, well, you may want to read it. I was like, okay, send it to me. So the owner has sent out an email to all of the clients and basically said, you guys need to find another salon. This guy Ace has bought it. He needs to change his name from Ace to the Ace Hole. And this goes on and on about like they should not, they need to start doing business with me and da da da. So we ended up, So we ended up closing down the salon, and we actually made more money just selling the equipment than it cost to buy the whole business.
Really?
So it still ended up. It was actually probably less of a headache and more profitable to do it that way.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So let me just ask you, can you share the number? Can you share that number with me, with me and my viewing audience? Like, what was the final number that he took the offer for?
So he took the offer for $40,000.
Okay. And how long had he been in business?
It was in the teens, I feel like 17 years.
Wow.
With offline deals, I don't do anything less than 10 years.
Okay. And why is that? Because of the track record to see like how they've grown?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it's if it's a business that has been around for at least 10 years, I mean, it just has that momentum. It has customers. A lot of times the owner has lost a lot of the passion about it. So there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in those deals that we can go in and we can help to improve and grow those businesses. So that becomes a couple of the things where when we go in, we want two big opportunities, and we can take those couple of opportunities in the business and hopefully try to double the size of the business with it.
So now with your online businesses, where do you find these businesses? Are people coming to you now because they know this is what you do? Is there like a database for sale somewhere? Where do you find these opportunities? And how do you know which one will be okay, a great one, or, how do you gauge? So
we get a lot of businesses that are coming to us now, which is, it's very helpful. It's great. We also, I started 7 years ago training other people on how to go and find these deals. So they find deals and bring them to us as well. But probably the biggest thing is getting into, like, going to seminars, spending time with the potential sellers. So if you go to like a convention or a conference and there are a bunch of entrepreneurs there, eventually they're going to want to sell. But we got 32 different methods that we use to find these deals. Once they come into us, we take them through this funnel where, at the different levels, we're basically filtering out the opportunities that may fit with what we're looking for or fit with where some other buyer in our network is looking for, and then we either buy those deals or refer them out.
Okay. So now, the topic of my title when I was booking your show was how to become a billionaire, a friend to a billionaire. So tell me about that, because I know you met a billionaire and you became friends with him. Tell me, because I know that's what a lot of people want to know, how you become.
Yeah. So for me, it wasn't on purpose. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people confuse or don't really realize is when it comes to getting the real actual relationships, I think it is crucial to connect with them in a way that is genuine. So if you go in and you're trying to do some kind of trick or networking trick, whatever, that's just not gonna work. So I'd had a couple of people who had mentioned connecting me with a guy who bought and flipped hospitals, actually.
Wow.
And they couldn't really describe what he did, though. It's like he works in hospitals. I was like, that doesn't have anything to do with what I do. It's like he works in like why does, but his name kept coming up. I was like, oh, that's what you do. I feel like you need to meet this guy. And so eventually I'm at which is another great place to meet people, is fundraisers and that kind of thing. So eventually I'm at a fundraiser and run into them and connect with them. And I'm like, man, people have told me that I need to meet you, but I can't figure out why. And he's like, I was like, what do you do? He's like, well, I do a lot of things now. I flip golf courses, but I got my start flipping hospitals. I was like, oh, you flip hospitals. I was like, okay, that's amazing. And so we just started sharing war stories. And I think he was impressed that I had absolutely nobody teaching me about this stuff.
Wow.
That everything I did, so very, very, very little information that's even available. A lot of information that is out there either is for bigger deals or it's just very dated and useless because this is a dynamic market. And we're talking, and I think the thing that really impressed him was that I was taking action and bumping my way through the dark and taking losses and figuring things out and willing to take action. I wasn't depending on him to do anything. He knew that regardless of us having a relationship, I was going to keep doing deals. I was going to keep growing. Second thing was I respected his time. I only met with him about 4 times a year. And after the first time I realized like he really wanted to get work done when we were there. So he was like, it's like, I showed up and it's like, okay, where are your financial statements? I was like, I didn't bring it. It's like, not your personal financial statements, not the business financial statements. I was like, no. It's like, do you have any of the projections? I was like, no. He was like, all right, there's nothing to talk about then. I'll see you next time.
Wow.
And that was the end of that meeting. And so next time I made sure I had some financials, I had some real stuff to talk about because he wasn't a chit chat. People want to get with people and chit chat. Like, man, I can chit chat with my family. I can chit chat with my loved ones. If I don't barely have time to work them in, so why am I going to chit chat with you?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. I don't have time to chit chat. He didn't have time to chit chat. So he sent me on my way because I wasn't there to meet. So what our meetings consisted of was walking through my financial statements. Him asked me, why are you doing this? Why do you think that's important? Learned a tremendous amount. And a lot of it was just mindset.
So did he become your mentor per se? Because that's what it sounds like. Did he become your mentor or was he now a partner?
I'm sorry?
Did he become your mentor? Because it sounds like he became a mentor, or did he become a partner?
He became a mentor.
Okay.
It was just a mentor. He had no interest in any thing as small as what I was doing. No interest whatsoever. And you see that. I mean, you know, when you watch Shark Tank, a lot of people don't understand that. But you watch Shark Tank, you see somebody like Mark Cuban. And he can be really enthusiastic about what somebody's up to. Like, man, all you need is $100,000. I love what you're doing. This is going to be awesome. But, you know, I'm not interested in it.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of times it's because they're a startup.
Right.
But you know, for him, $100,000 is like us finding $10 in our drawer.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, hey, you know, why not throw that on red and see if it hits?
Right.
But they're just unwilling to do that.
You know, he probably was one of those guys that I used to work at a hospital in New Jersey, and he probably flipped it and went out of business. So he probably flipped it, and it was so crazy when you were saying. I said to myself, he probably flipped my hospital because my hospital was bankrupt. It was like had been there for years, and somebody came in and bought it, and then MRI center and everything. And about 3 months after all that stuff was done, we were out of business, and it was. People were like running like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I've been here 40 years. And it was so crazy. But that's another.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, just that's when you get more deep into this stuff, just stuff that we don't even think about as being possible.
Right.
You know, like, don't even think about that being possible, that you can get a hospital and go in there, and whether it's successful or not, still make a ton of money.
Right.
It's absolutely incredible.
So now with your internet deals, are there deals that you look at on the internet, you just say, no, we definitely don't want to do that deal? Like that's just, it doesn't fit in.
Oh, that's 90%. 90% of the deals that we look at, we don't want to do at all. They're going to be a nightmare.
And give me one that like you looked at and say, you know what, that's gonna be a nightmare. We don't want to do that deal. Just one of them.
Let's see. What's a good example of a nightmare deal? You know, a great example. So, like with some of the deals with some of the deals we do, sometimes they're very small deals. You know, it might be a $50,000 deal. And that's great if it's a blog or it's easy to run. It's not good if there's a ton of work involved. So, you know, we want to try to get deals where either it's going to be worth the work, we've got some things we can do to really grow it, or it's just going to be passive. I love, you know, I've got a portfolio of about 28 deals right now. And when it comes to managing them, you know, and a lot of those, I'm doing deals that may take an hour a quarter, you know, to meet with the guy who's operating it. It just isn't a lot to oversee. So, you know, with those deals, but you know, you see these other deals that may be 50,000, and the person's working like 30 hours a week in it. It's like, oh my goodness, you're barely making minimum wage.
Right.
So you want to stay away from those deals like that. And then the other things are just things that have due diligence issues, or they're faking traffic, or they built it up in a way that is black hat as opposed to white hat. So we literally have a list of close to 90 things that we take business through when we're like considering if it's something we want to buy or not.
So now, have you ever, and this is probably my last question because we're about to be out of time. Have you ever met an entrepreneur who had a business that looked like, you know what, it's a great business, we want to buy it, but let's kind of franchise it out, or let's create more just like it? Have you ever?
Yeah. Well, and that's what we did with the tanning salons. We also did it in the fitness space, where we took those systems. We didn't necessarily create a franchise out of it, but we took the same systems, the ideas, the thing that we learned in one, and took it to the other. When you're buying existing businesses, you have something even better than franchising, which is the synergies between those businesses, and it's on different levels. I mean, it can be employee, it can be in marketing, it can be operations, it can be just sharing resources to lower cost, buying in bulk to lower cost. I mean, just it's on both sides. Having a bigger budget, especially now that we're on the internet. I mean, every time you buy another local business, you can go, or an internet business that's in a space, now you can have a bigger amount of attention online for the whole brand. So those things are really powerful. But just to give you a quick example, when I bought the very first business, I had a girl who was amazing at operations. And she was managing that place. The lady that owned it was moving out of the country. She rarely went by. And because she found such a great girl, she didn't value how unique that was to have somebody who just loved that business. She treated it like it was her own. She'd be in there off the clock hours, making sure everything in that place was perfect, spick and span. And it really wasn't a big business. So the next one that we did, they were amazing at marketing and sales. So the first one was really great at the cleanliness and, customer service and all this. The second one was great at marketing and sales, with the inside, service and the, customer service and attention to detail and all that stuff was terrible. So as soon as we bought those, we switched managers for a temporary amount of time to get them up to speed. So the sales manager at the other place came down and whipped those girls into shape. Like, hey, don't sit here and clean all day. Like, get on the phone. Let's sell some people. Let's follow up. Let's make sure we're upselling. And they were so focused on customer service. Like, I don't want the customers to feel bad if I try to sell them. It's like, no, this is what we're doing. The operations girl got on the other team and started to get them this operational systems, and here's what we need to do to make sure things are clean, and here's the system, and keeping up with everything. Here's your checklist, because they had a lot of that stuff already built. So every time you're looking at how do we buy this, and then how do we take the resources that we have right now and leverage them into the next business to grow that. So then we have two, and we go to the third one, and okay, how can we take these two and improve both sides of this business?
Well, I want to think this has been so wonderful, and that's a lot of great information. I'm going to definitely stay in contact with you, because like I said, I'm doing some great things, I think, and some other people have told me the same thing in this space. And it's a growing space. The OTT space and the IPTV space is growing. It's huge.
It is.
And there's a lot of opportunity there. So I've been, HerTube has been around for 2.5 years. And we're just doing some facelifts right now before we move to the next part of it. So it's pretty interesting to see how this is going to play out.
How do you like this platform?
I love this platform. I'm glad. I've probably done about 8 to 10 interviews already on the platform. It's a really great platform. And the reason I like it is because you get the MP4 and the MP3, and all you got to do is edit it and drop in your intros and outros, and you're pretty much done. So I really like that fact. I do in studio too. Like, I've had people in studio, we do in studio, but I pretty much like to just do it this way, because for me, it's easier, it's quicker. I can get it done, get it edited, and then put it out there on the network. So my network is in 52 countries right now. We're in 52 countries, and countries, I always say countries I can't even pronounce the name of. So we take the shows and we just distribute them out. So it's worked for me. And it's so funny you say, when you were saying about when somebody's just working all the time. So I woke up this morning, I said to myself, I really do have enough time to go to the gym 2 hours a day. This is what I'm thinking to myself, because I do. And I said, but I don't, because I'm a workaholic. So I said, I have to stop doing this, because I do have the time to go to the gym at least 2 hours a day. I really do. And that was just me thinking about me this morning. So I know that I pretty much built the business where I don't have to spend all my time. I just do it because I love it. And but I also have bigger dreams to do some other things. And so I'm gonna definitely keep in contact. Thank you so much for this interview. And if I hear of a business, I'm in Metro. It's a whole lot of entrepreneurs here. If I hear of anybody who's looking to sell or looking to buy, I will definitely put them in contact with you.
Good deal. And we've got some females that have gone through the program and bought some businesses, so I'd love to connect you with them.
Okay, sounds good. So have them email me. I'm going to put my email right here. This is my direct email.
Good deal.
And tell people how to contact you, because they may want to contact you. This was a great interview. And remember, it's going to be seen around the world. Have you done any deals that were outside of the country? I should ask you that, because this isn't a lot of people.
Yeah. So we've done deals in Cape Town and Israel and Morocco, and so we've done. I just kind of did a merger deal with a guy in London, Asia. So absolutely.
Yeah, UK is one of our biggest partners when it comes to distribution. We're in a lot of the UK countries, but we're in a lot of, not so many of the Asian countries, but a lot of the European countries. So this is going to be, I'm going to have you back, because there are questions that I've been asked about doing business outside of America when it comes to internet stuff, because everybody has the firewalls and things like that, and people are saying, well, how can I get my business seen? Now I know that the way my company is set up, people can see it, because I've had companies from the company that I'm working with now to put out stuff on the smart TVs in Germany. They're in Germany. So when they came to us, said, hey, listen, we want to put your app on our German television, which is about 8 different platforms there with thousands of television, which is great. So I know that they can see us, but for an internet company who is building a business and they know there are firewalls, like you can't see Facebook in China, and I see that every night on Bloomberg, like, yeah, we'd be glad when you can see Facebook in China. How do you get past this? I'm going to bring you back, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that. And when you're building a business and you want to build a business outside of the United States and, possibly have someone come in and buy it or sell it, how does that whole thing work? But how do people get in contact with you?
Yeah, people can feel free to shoot me an email directly. It's ace@acechampman.com. I'm accessible. I'm on YouTube and Instagram. Instagram is ace.chapman, and Facebook is just Ace Chapman.
Okay. Chapman. All right, Ace Chapman. Well, thank you so much. Feel better. I know this weather is crazy.
I know. I got to get through this. Thank you.
And everything. So, but thank you so much for doing this interview with me. And I will be in contact soon. So, hey, listen, you have been listening to Talk Business with Audrey. I'm your girl, Audrey Bell Kearney. My guest today was Mr. Ace Chapman. Check him out. You can email him at acechapman.com. Check out his website. If you have a business that you want to sell, or you had a business that you want to buy, talk to Ace and his team, because they seem like they're doing some amazing things. Thank you again, Ace. And until next time, everybody, I'll be back next Thursday with another great guest. Make it a great day. Bye, Ace.
See ya.